We got a great guest here.
We do. We'd like to bring them up. We got Nathan and Ashley. If Ashley, you're welcome to come up. We get a couple microphones.
Thank you guys for spending your evening with us.
Yeah, come on up.
Thanks for the invite.
All right, so who's got the?
I've got it.
Okay. Do you mind clicking it?
No, I don't mind. Oh, should we mention? Here's our other single-family mentors.
Yeah, there's 12 of us. There's 3 in each of the Texas markets, and then we have 3 national mentors in the single-family world.
Is there a reason they put you last?
I don't know. If there is, I don't know about
Here,
it.
why do you take this for now?
All right, so is it
Down button
down
is
button's the
there.
next one? Okay. All right, so let's move on in here. Okay, so Nathan and Ashley, they want to tell us a little bit about themselves. Go ahead and just tell a little bit about yourself, so what brought you into lifestyles.
Okay. All right, Nathan Newsome. We live here in McKinney now, actually originally from Southeast Michigan, and always wanted to be in real estate.
I did not bring him here.
I actually got laid off in 2008. I was in the auto industry up that way.
See?
That kind of led to the path of where we're at now.
Sad at the beginning, but good ending, huh?
Yeah, I got a couple months off with the kids and found a different job. So, but long before that, actually, we're again Southeast Michigan. We actually didn't finish high school. We dropped out of high school in 11th grade. So just kind of remember that as you kind of see what Lifestyles has helped us achieve. We joined in 2019, really late 2019, and bought our first house in 2020. So right now I work for a company called GPRS. I'm in sales at a big corporation.
Well, Nathan, you told me a story about your first property. How did you end up getting that one? Was there a weird story around that one?
Yeah, that one was a little crazy. So this is literally COVID just hit. I mean, this is March, early March. COVID was just announced. I had to wear a mask into this house, which wasn't favorable. But so I walked the property, and this first one, really uncomfortable. Didn't know exactly what I was doing. Had a lot of education and had a good education behind me, but still, kind of uncomfortable. So I called the boss after we went out there, Ashley. And I was out there, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. These are the numbers. Here's what I think the rehab's going to be. What should I do? And she was like, go for it. So there were 2 of us. So there was about 7 people that walked the house, 2 people that wanted the property, maybe in one of them, and we actually flipped a coin, and I won the coin toss, and we got the house.
So if it had gone tails, we would never know where you would have been, right?
Well, I'm glad you gave him the go-ahead.
We actually went to a multifamily case study, and that's what really sold me. I think we did that before we even did bought our first property, and we walked through, and it was so informative, and I couldn't believe how almost like simple it was, almost too simple. I'm like, we could do this.
Clearly a scam, right?
Yeah. But that's what got me really excited, honestly.
Aggie can do it, you guys can do it.
Amen.
We all came in a little suspicious, just like you would. Tell us why you joined Lifestyles.
So I mentioned early on that I've always been interested in real estate from an early age, but didn't really know how to get into it. So when my buddy mentioned Lifestyles, I was like, hey, that sounds like something we'd be interested in. So came to the 2-day, and everything really just made sense. That's when it clicked. The numbers made sense to me. The process made sense to me, and we jumped all in that night.
We couldn't understand why everyone here wasn't doing this, because where we're from, there isn't this. And we were just kind of like blindly, we would like to do this, but how? And then we came here and we're like, he heard about it on the radio, I think, and so he went, and we're like, why isn't everybody here doing this? So.
Because they're worried it's a scam.
Right. Yeah, I'm a skeptical person, so I was worried about the same thing when I walked in here, but it's paid off.
All right, so tell us a little bit about this property. This is your more recent purchase.
Yeah, so this is our 3rd house that we bought. This one's in Sherman, Texas. A lot of my properties, or our properties, are on the north side of town. And found this one through a wholesaler. Walked the property again, and actually I told him no at first. And then he came back to me a few days later, and one of the deals fell through, and we were able to get it for even a little bit cheaper. and we bought it. So the rehab was mostly cosmetic. Actually, we did roof and HVAC, but completely redid the entire inside, and it turned out looking pretty nice.
Doesn't that look beautiful, guys?
Yeah.
Thanks,
look at
Ted.
Get my hands on that one. This is pretty. I can go back one?
Go back. Yeah.
Did you keep the dual volleyball nets set up there?
We took those down.
Here, let's skip that one. There's the kitchen.
That's beautiful.
I'm surprised you didn't keep the color scheme from the first one.
Well, I probably would have kept it, but Ashley's
At least keep the giant fork.
yeah.
The fork had to stay.
And this is, just to highlight a little bit about the kitchen, these are just basic cabinets that we bought from, they're literally off the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's. The countertop, the butcher block, in some markets you can really get away with, and it looks really nice. You don't necessarily have to go with granite, so we saved a little bit of money there, but didn't devalue the property at all. And then everybody loves Subway tile, and that's cheap as well. So
Yep. Kind of stick to the neutral basics that everyone wants to buy.
If you can operate a phone and you can download Pinterest, you can do this.
So I understand you had a consultant as far as colors and choices on things.
yeah. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Pinterest.
Good teamwork. Good teamwork.
All right. So here's the numbers. You want to walk us through that?
Now
a
this
little bit?
scares people. We're going slow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I purchased the property for $18,700. I needed about $44,000 in rehab. It appraised for $210,000 when we were done, and around $44,000 out of pocket is what it came to.
Yeah, let's go a little slowly through here. So, add up the purchase price and the rehab, right? I can't do the math real fast. 162.7, is that right? 160. Did I do the math right? 162.7. And after it's fixed up, appraised for 210. Whoa, that's pretty cool. There's extra equity there, isn't there? That's why we have this equity capture over on the right-hand side. But the way that we will teach you how to buy properties, most people that, when they think about doing this, they're going to say, I'm going to put 25% down on the 210, and then I'm going to pay for that 44,000 rehab, so you'd be way more than 45,000. We're going to show you how to do this where you're not taking as much cash out of pocket. So keep going with your numbers. They're great.
Yeah. You're on the rent, I think.
Yeah, so we rent this one for $1,500 a month, and our cash flow is $471, so almost 13% cash on cash, and then equity capture $36,000.
That's pretty awesome. Nice.
So you gotta. So how often do you get regularly 13% in your 401k? Or year after year after year, everybody? No? But here's the better. Look at this. Who's got a calculator? What's 36 divided by 45?
That's pretty high.
High. That's good. Good answer, Leo.
I like that math.
I think it's like 80%, right?
You have to be a genius to figure that one out.
It's high. It's like 80%. So when they bought that place, they got an 80% one-time bump right there. And they're making another 13% every year thereafter. And it probably gets better because rent typically goes up, not down, right?
I'd say our goal is usually to double our money, and we have on the other houses plus some, but we're really, really close on this one, and it worked out well.
Speaking of your other houses, pulled those up. Tell us just a little briefly, where they are and.
Yeah, so the coin toss one's the Shenandoah one. Like I said, that one's been our best besides our primary. That one was pretty good too. We can throw that in there, but this is the one I bought on the coin toss right before COVID. Obviously, the market's done really well since then, and we've got about $143,000 in equity in that one house. Also,
I'm just curious, what was your cash out of pocket at the time you purchased it?
It was about $29,000.
So the $29,000 is turned into $143,000.
That's terrible.
As Leo would say, that's high.
No, that's pretty amazing, especially starting on your first deal.
Yeah, and that was probably the scariest one because
Can you guys see how this can change your life? 29,000 becomes 143. Nice job, guys. Keep going.
The next one was up in Denison, and this was a huge project. This took, we literally redid everything. The foundation, took it down to the studs. We put up walls. We put in new bathrooms, insulation, roof, you name it, electrical, plumbing, everything was done. Huge project, and we've got about $84,000 equity capture in that. And that's our best cash flowing one because we've just got it for really cheap.
Roughly what is the cash flow?
I think that was around $500 or $600 a month.
Nice.
That's what it looks like.
And what was your out of pocket on that one?
That one was around 35.
Nice. So you've more than doubled your money. And I'm sorry, I'm throwing questions out here that he was not prepared for, but they're doing a good job answering them. Yeah, that'd be good. So you guys couldn't hear that, but 'cause I was going to ask that question. You did a major rehab. How did you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, do you want? I will say, the first one, the coin toss. We walked through, and I was like, I want to change this, and I want to change that, and I want to do this. And we had a contractor from Lifestyles come out, and he was like, no, you don't need to. You don't need to do that.
Did he tell you?
don't
He
need
told
to."
you you were watching too much HGTV. Is what he told you, right?
I was like, well, I don't want it to look that way. And he's like, you're not living in this house. You don't need to change those floors. You don't need to take out that door. Like, he convinced me, and after a little bit, he walked through and said, we'll do this, we'll do that, you'll do this, and it'll be great. And so I was, okay, let's do it.
How many contractors are going to tell you that and scale down their
Yeah,
amount of work and
Don't spend more money with me.
paycheck? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, they're great. Great vendors, man. Did you already talk about Shannon?
That was the Sherman House.
That was the Sherman.
Yep.
Okay, great. So from that, you have now annual cash flow total $16,896,
tax-free.
tax free.
Well, we'll
You'll
talk.
learn how
We'll
to do
talk.
that too in the 2 day.
You'll learn that in the 2 day. Thank you.
Sorry,
Good,
beat
good
you.
commercial. Good commercial. There you go.
And then equity capture, you've got 263,000, and that's been growing for you.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that too a little bit about our primary that's not on here. We actually just sold our primary house, and we're renting, so we're going all in. We made a lot off our primary, just renting for a few years, and
So you're taking that cash and doing what with it?
we're buying houses. And
Not to live in.
not to live in.
Yeah.
And I'm taking the passive course right now to do some passive investing and going to be a lead eventually.
Excellent.
So you're a little unsure of this process. So, all right, that's awesome. I've heard of only another member that's done that, sold their primary residence so that they had more cash to invest in real estate because they saw what kind of returns they could get off of it. So I congratulate you. That's amazing. All right, so how has Lifestyles changed your life? I know you've told us a little bit, but
So, I mean, it's really just put an actionable plan for us. It's really built out the roadmap and then created cash flow at the same time. So, not only do we have an active plan to retire, but to continue this on and then be able to pass it down and get the kids involved.
and you've already got plans for them, right? They're already ready.
Aren't they here? Didn't I see
We've
them
got a
running
couple of them.
We have 2 out of the 5 here. The other 3 are too
I saw
cool.
a couple of them pop up over there. Our 17-year-old is not here. He's at a church camp, but he's already been helping with picking out properties and
Nice.
vetting properties and helping with contractors and stuff like that.
What surprised me is with my kids is they pretend they don't want to know anything about it, but then like years later they go, "Remember that time this happened?" You're like, "You were paying attention?"
Right.
It's amazing how it sinks in.
Yeah. So how many kids you guys have?
5.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've got 5 too. I told you that. Big families. A lot of fun. All right. Okay, so you got some goals, some short-term goals. What are those?
So our short term is buy more houses. Long term is, and long term talking a year, become a lead investor and do syndications and IRO.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you'll learn what that is. Lead investors, and out in the world they call them syndicators. They're the ones, you're going to learn about that next, about how they do multifamily deals. Mm-hmm. So
Long term would be to quit his job and just do this.
That's my short term.
you're just letting them know now, huh?
We're negotiating right on stage.
You don't have any concerns about that, Ashley.
I'll add on there, at the bottom there, we love to travel. I mean, I think most people do like to travel. That's something that we want to do more of and more with the family. And then, it's also on our heart to be able to partner with more nonprofits and be able to not just travel, but travel to third world countries and participate in getting the word of God out there. So
And
Amen. Yeah.
you talked about, I mean, it's a little uncomfortable not being able to use our money to travel now and do things now that you see other people doing. But what was you're saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so that's what we're doing, is we're being a little uncomfortable. So eventually we'll be really comfortable.
That's
Do
what
today
I'm
what
saying.
others won't, so that in the future you can do what they can't.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So you had a team, right? You were talking a little bit about contractors and things.
Yeah. So it's another thing that Lifestyles has really been good for, is having a network of people. That was another big part of why I never got into real estate, is because it's like, where do you start? Where do you get, where do you find financing? How do you do financing? How do you find a contractor? So here's some of the people that we used. Chris Wyatt, who's transitioned into a different role, but he was a single family mentor. Did an amazing job just answering the phone, being there for me, texting, any question I had, he was there to help point me in the right direction. Also, Sam Tenpenny, that's where I picked up my first house, was Sam.
Is that the penny you flipped?
Yeah, it might have been. It probably came out of his pocket. And then Capital Concepts, Carrie's right back here. We still work together. We work together on every house, and it's been great. I was just telling him I made an offer today on another house in Greenville, so I was telling him, be ready. And how
Nice.
fast can we close?
Nice.
Integrity, Lee back there, also been working with him the entire time. He's done a great job with all my properties. Everybody's been very punctual, got what we needed fast, and that's a big part of the process, is getting things done fast when you're in motion to close on a house. The last one, finishing touches, that was who Ashley mentioned at the beginning, who really was great, because again, we probably had higher expectations of what we want to do with the house, but he came in and knew exactly what to do. He's like, here's the Lifestyles model, here's what we need to do, here's what's going to get your value and be the best for you in this market. And we're like, okay, let's do it. And it worked out great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I think that's the end of the slides, right? Any questions in the audience for these two? Leah.
Were you, like the finishing touches, they came in and said, let's do this, that. Did you have any problem with him, like, worried about shabby work or getting it on time?
I'll repeat it. The question was, are we worried about the vendor, the general contractor doing shabby work?
Contractors, it ends up being a big cluster, usually about the halfway through the deal. But this guy, these people, and then also, did they do it for the price that they said they would do it for, and then finish it in the time they said?
Yeah.
That's a lot of questions. But
I mean, we were pretty confident, given that they were behind, like, Lifestyles gave them to us, basically. And so we were pretty confident in that. And I think they were down to they were very close.
They're down to the penny.
Yeah.
They didn't
Let-
consume
finish-
your time or anything by going, hey, you want to?
No.
No,
When you stuck your for lease sign out there, was it how many, did you get many calls or anything?
The first one we had leased in 2 days.
All right, way to go,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome.
But I will say, finishing touches, to answer all your questions, no problems at all. I mean, they gave us a project manager that we got to work with for the house throughout the process. They also had some updates throughout the process, very good communication. Came down, literally they have everything down to the penny of what everything's going to cost, and came in right on budget and on time.
Awesome.
Just like we need.
When we'll talk a lot more about the vendor list and how it works this weekend too. So, any other questions in the room? How about on TV land? I'll come back to you in a second. Any TV land, Carl?
Yes. What membership do you have?
Pig membership.
Preferred
investor.
Preferred investor group membership. And the question over here?
Yes. So how long did the remodels take and the rehab process? And then do you manage your properties by yourself, or do you have a third-hand party?
Two very good questions.
So everyone's a little bit different. The first one, and this is to reaching back a few years, I would think a couple months. It was pretty quick. The second one, that big rehab, took a long time. That one, I would say that one took about 5 months.
You got to remember too, this was all during COVID, and sometimes stuff was hard to get, right? I know that in our apartments, there was a time where we couldn't get refrigerators. For like 2 months. It was, windows, all kinds of weird things. So that probably slowed it down a bit.
Oh, absolutely did. I mean, we waited for a tempered glass window just to literally finish the house. We waited for weeks just for that. And until we had that in, we couldn't get the final inspection.
Even those big ones, in a regular time, that would be like a 3 to 4 month, just a little bit longer than the smaller rehabs.
And that was baked into his business plan too, right? So the numbers you saw they were finished after the end, right? So he still got great returns, even with the rehab going a little longer.
Yeah, with that one specifically too, the market went up so fast. When we bought it right before it went way up, and that helped out a ton with some of that. I'm sorry.
What year did you start?
What year did you start?
Really 2020. We bought in like December 2019, bought our first house 2020.
So aren't they in a rocket ship ride? 3 years? Give me a hand, guys. Any last questions?
I'll answer the last part too. We manage everything on our own right now. So I think that's really great question, important to bring up. With the model that Lifestyles has given us, and we fix everything, we don't have problems with our property. So I've had some calls, or we've had some calls, but it's very minimal. We hardly ever visit them, and we'll sell them in a few years.
You drive by every now and then and go, yep, still there.
I did that in Duncanville a couple days ago.
Gino, did you have a question?
Yeah, that first property with the big equity that was in it, was that like a huge rehab, like foundation, all that kind of stuff, or how extensive was it?
I think that included appreciation after they finished the rehab, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the rehab was just cosmetic. It was actually probably the least of all of them. We just did, literally we left some floors, we redid the kitchen, we redid 1 out of 2 bathrooms, painted it, new lighting, new fixtures. That was probably the easiest one.
Anything else? I thought one other hand. Hand that over, Samuel.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, that far out, like Sherman, Denison, you mentioned Greenville, do the Lifestyles vendors go out that far, or did you have to find local vendors up there?
So I did find the Sherman one, the Denison one, I had a contractor on my own, but Lifestyles does have a couple people that go out there I've actually met with recently, all the way out in Greenville even.
One of the beautiful things about Lifestyles is the network, right? So you can find other members up there and ask them who they're using, and it really goes a long way. I know people all over the country that are doing exactly what they're doing.
And that's exactly how we did do the Denison one. It was
Oh, you
through
found
another,
somebody. Yeah.
asking questions to people and knowing people in
See, it
the
works.
group.
Yeah, come to dinner after, and you can ask all kinds of
Yeah,
questions.
by the way, after this, we're going to go to Bar Louis, which I don't know exactly what it is. We got a slide. So you're all welcome to come and hang out and talk with other folks.
There was one more.
Was there any other one? Right here.
One more.
Our Wisconsin friends. Go Cold people.
So we're just getting ready to buy our first houses now, single family. And, with the rehab and getting all the numbers and stuff, were there any huge surprises when you guys were going through this process? I know everything is pretty cookie cutter, but sometimes there are unknowns.
Aside from COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to see that one coming.
That was a surprise. I don't think so. Not that I can think of. There's no huge surprises that. I mean, the amount of money we made, that was a surprise.
That's a good surprise. But if you're doing, realistically, if you're getting the inspection done and then you're getting your contractor in there to look it over, they're really, unless you open up a wall and find something that nobody could have known, there shouldn't be really any surprises.
One house, the Denison house, we had some additional foundation work that we didn't prepare for or we didn't account for. It was rotted out on the front of the house. We had to rebuild the whole front of the house. But we had a couple $1,000s built in extra on every house at least.
Because that's what your mentor will tell you to do, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
And I think that's exactly about what it was, somewhere right around that mark. So it didn't hurt too bad.
Everything is fixable. So.
Yep.
True.
Anything, we gotta start moving along, but any other burning questions here? Anything, Carl, looks like you have one.
Yes, just one more. What annual rent increases, what percent rent increases?
Ooh.
I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but whatever the market does is what we do. So.
Do you know, dollar terms instead of percentage? You have a rough idea?
Yeah, so the Duncanville house, we've upped from, we started at 1,600, we're at 1,800, and about to go to 2,000. The Denison house has stayed pretty similar because we bought that. We got a ton of equity in it, but by the time we leased it out. You know, it hasn't changed a whole lot. And then the Sherman one, we're about to up again a couple $100.
So going from 16 to 2,000, if I did the math right, that's a 25% increase. Did I do the math right? Yeah. That's not bad. Do most people sign a one-year lease? The question was, do most people sign a one-year lease?
That's what we've seen.
Yeah.
Then you
And we'll
raise
talk
the
about
rate
that
each
during the
new
2-day too.
lease. Yep. Okay. Great.
All right, let's give them a big hand, guys, for sharing. Oh, one more? Sorry.
All right.
I'm too early. I'm too early.
Jumping ahead. I thought this was your question, but
Okay.
so what would you tell some of these guys that are here for the first time if you could go back in time and tell yourself, like, what advice would you give?
I think two things for me. She already mentioned one, and I'll say it again. But one is do it now, because you're going to regret it later. If you don't, you're going to say, I should have done that. And the other quote that she had was, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Very good.
Thank you guys for sharing, Nathan.
Great job.
Thank you for sharing. Ashley, thank you.